So let's go ahead and take a quick stroll through the first couple of chapters of the Physics for Video Games by Aaron Titus of High Point University. Um, Nice guy. Um, I probably shouldn't have jumped into doing this without a lot of preparation, but hey, ready, fire, aim, right? So I hope we'll enjoy ourselves. But as you know, as you've been through this, that it begins with a discussion of coordinates, and things are a little bit different in physics than they might be in some of your math preparation. First of all, lots of times in math, you are working with functions that are continuous, and so oftentimes the axes that you would have for your coordinate system might have arrows at both ends or not arrows. You might put arrows on the data. Um, in physics, you'll notice that there's an arrowhead that is on one end of each of the axes, whether we're talking 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions, and that coordinate system is that arrowhead tells you what direction is positive, so you don't actually have to label it positive X, Y, and Z as Aaron has done here, but you do notice also that you are to include parenthetically what the units are. Um, and so typically a coordinate system does have the origin, a scale, and the orientation. Now the one that you see right here, this three-dimensional one, is the coordinate system that we'll be working with once we get going with VPython, which will be in week 2. And so up is positive y, to the right is positive x, and out of the screen is positive z. And so then what you need to do is to be able to talk about what the any given point would be in terms of coordinates. And so, and typically my convention is not to label positive numbers, but to label negative numbers. Aaron is in the habit, it looks like here, of labeling both positive and negative. Now he talks some about computer conventions, and there's no question that some computers are oriented such that the upper left-hand corner is the 0 and down and to the right is positive. But then you'll also notice once we start doing some video analysis that most video analysis software, the bottom left-hand corner is 0 or 0, 0, and up and to the right are positive. And then as I already mentioned, in terms of VPython, what you'll see is a couple of things. First of all, that it automatically will move the camera, so to speak, the view that you have, to whatever the center of the layout happens to be. So in other words, if I were to draw a sphere at a negative 150 meters to the left, you know, in the x direction, I guess is what I'm trying to say. When I would run the program, if that was the only object, it would appear to be in the middle of the screen because the camera would shift to the objects of interest. But typically what you want to think about in terms of VPython is the very center of the screen is 0, 0, 0, with to the right being positive x, up being positive y, and out of the screen as being positive z. So there are some examples here, and if you look at this example, you'll notice that he kind of messed up here. He said for point A, x is a positive 3 meters and y is a positive 2 meters, and you know that he was being dyslexic because it's actually x is 2 and y is 3. And so you would know then this is a negative 3, 1, and this is a negative 1.5, negative 2.5 in terms of meters. So you can go through and do this, and I'm sure you did, and you talked about it in the movie that you made, the screencast that you made for week 1. Now, of course, we didn't do this lab per se, but this is something that it would make sense that you could do this at your house, and you could use your favorite seating place rather than the center of your seat, but you could just do your living room or wherever you happen to hang out, and that would be a good lab activity to do, and it gets you up off the couch. So those were the things that you were supposed to do in week 1, and so we will have a separate screencast for week 2. Bye-bye now.